Hi there, gang. Steve Jensen, Dr. J, and it is our special day of Tuesday. And every fortnight, we invite an inner circle superstar to come along and share some of their nuggets with us to help us maximize our life. Now, today we're talking about money matters about money. Not that we say that money doesn't matter, but as Jackson will tell you, there's a ways to do things and ways not to do things. And today we're going to be talking about a very important subject. And it's about debt. It's how can we reduce debt? And what is debt? And is there good and bad debt? So the superstar is here, the guru of wealth, Jackson Milan. Welcome.
Steve, thanks for having me again, mate. Looking forward to sharing some value with the gang.
Look, mate, over the last few weeks, and we're up to number 6 now, we've been talking about how we can leverage money, but we went right back to the beginning where we needed to have a plan. Now, some people's plans is actually to get in a significant amount of debt, which creates a significant amount of stress. Well, how do we pay for that debt? And is it good debt? And sometimes we go on a spending spree and so forth. And over the last, say, 6 months in particular, I've actually been hearing people that are quite fearful of the amount of debt they've accumulated and how they're going to get out of this hole. So I just want to explore some things with an expert that coaches thousands of people to reduce debt, but also get out of that hole and into wealth creation models. So the first thing I want to ask you to understand a little bit more about is debt just simply spending more than we make? Is that what it's all about?
Look, there's a few traps that people find themselves in, and there are people like anything that use debt the right way and people who use debt the wrong way. And I think it's important that we start with using debt the wrong way first, so we can help people identify if they find themselves in a situation that they can identify that they are in that situation and they can get themselves out of it. Because here's the thing, Steve. Since the global financial crisis, we've seen a shift of debt. We've seen debt shift from corporations to households. And we've seen people's household debt, the amount of debt that they have to the household income that they produce, exponentially increase. Now, I think that for the last better part of more than 10 years, we've had economic prosperity. The economy is doing very well, or had been doing very well up until us recently being announced that we're in a recession for the first time in 30 years. The investment markets have been doing very well, both property and shares. And for all of these reasons, I believe that many people had a false sense of security. And this isn't the first time in history that this has happened. And many people have used and abused debt as a means of covering their lifestyle creep. In short, their lifestyle has exceeded their ability to afford and sustain that lifestyle over the long term.
Is that because of a pattern that they've created when everything was okay, and they'll just continually, I'll spend it on my credit card. I can pay that off, but unfortunately, revenues have dropped in business, and maybe they've even had to take a pay cut because of work changes.
Yeah, I think there's a number of things that fuel this, Steve, and I think it comes down to structure above all else. Some people use their credit card as a means of managing their cash flow. They chuck everything on the credit card to get the points, and then they try and pay it off at the end of the month. Or sometimes they just kick the tin down the road and pay the minimum. They are using things like Afterpay and these kind of buy now and pay later style of strategies under the guise that they don't affect your credit file, that they are just things that everyone does. And they're actually extremely dangerous. And for these reasons, many people are living beyond their means. They don't know how much they're spending. They don't know whether they've got surplus. And the reality is that they're living an unsustainable lifestyle that is going to get in their way of achieving financial freedom.
So at the end of it, they usually, it comes to a shuddering halt, doesn't it? Actually, after we've robbed Peter to pay Paul, and all of a sudden it gets to a finite where we go, oh my goodness, look at the hole I'm in, 200,000, 100,000, whatever, and there's no means to pay it off. So my next question is there good debt and bad debt?
There definitely is, Steve. So from a traditional definition, the difference between a good debt and a bad debt is the purpose in which that debt has been used, and in turn, whether the debt, the interest that you pay on that debt is tax deductible or not. So typically a bad debt would be things like a credit card, a personal loan, anything that you're using that is for a depreciating or a non-investment asset.
Okay, give an example of one of those, because I think everyone needs to hear this, because if we're paying something off that doesn't go up in value or doesn't pay a dividend, it's actually it doesn't work. So could you give some examples?
Well, an example would be your credit card is a non-deductible debt. A personal loan that you take out to buy a car or go on a holiday is a bad debt. And this is hotly contested, but even your debt that you have on your principal place of residence is a bad debt. And the reason for it is because although it is a good investment, your home, that you're paying that interest in after-tax dollars. So you need to realize that you've got to earn money, pay tax, to then pay the bank the rate of interest. So let's say, for example, you're earning $100,000 a year and you have a credit card that is charging you 20% a year in interest. Your effective amount that you need to earn is close to 40%. And when you think about that, is there any investment in the world that can make you 40% year on year without any risk? Exactly.
I know.
So what that means is that for every dollar you pay off that credit card, that is equivalent to a 40% pre-tax return. On the flip side, there is good debt. And good debt is used for investments and it means that the interest on that debt is tax deductible. So if you're using debt to buy investment properties, commercial property, or even using debt to buy shares, that would be seen as a good debt because you can claim interest. You claim the interest as a tax deduction and that you're buying appreciating assets that will help you build your wealth for the future.
So would a business be a good debt?
And that's a really good question, Steve. It depends on what you used the debt for. So our golden rule for any business owner is that you should never use debt to cover your cash flow. So if your business is a cash-eating monster and you cannot afford to sustain that business, then you should under no circumstances be looking to take on debt to bridge that cash flow shortfall.
So in other words, if we've got a business which is, let's say, at the end of the quarter, we have to pay our BAS, we have to go into, let's say, putting in more working capital or use an overdraft, that's a bad debt.
It's a bad debt, definitely.
So our business actually trading that way is relatively classified as insolvent.
Exactly. It means that your business is unsustainable. And for that reason, you are just using a Band-Aid solution to kick the tin down the road and you are just deferring the inevitable.
So they need to really ramp up either reduce their expenditure, increase their marketing and increase their sales conversion. So they maximize yield. So the yields go up per sale, or we make more sales so they can stop drawing on their overdraft or stop putting in working capital. Would that be right?
Exactly, 100%. I had a client that started working with us a couple of years ago. He ran a joinery business and his business was burning through around about $30,000 a month in lost cash flow. He'd racked up multiple six figures in debt because he was using debt the wrong way in order to bridge the cash flow shortfalls. And he was in a very, very tough position. And through just recognizing the fact that he was running an unsustainable business, we were able to implement strategies to not only restructure his debt to maximize his cash flow, we were able to save him about $3,000 a month in just interest repayments alone. That was giving him a little bit of breathing space, but $3,000 a month in the context of losing 30, you're still losing $27,000 a month. But we then reviewed the business model, the way that he did his sales, the way that he approached his cash conversion cycle, the way that he collected money from his clients. And we're able to take him over the course of 12 months from a $30,000 per month loss to a $30,000 per month profit.
Oh, as in 12 months. So by having let's go back to Money Matters One, having that plan and then talking to someone about it that knows what they're talking about can have a strategy to put into place if you follow the steps. And I would suggest here that he wouldn't be able to do it on his own. I mean, some financial planners just say invest in the stock market and see if it fixes it. But I'm talking about having help along the way. And I'm a big flag waver of coaching. Is that what you would suggest?
Exactly. And just once again, you've got to play to your strengths. And if you find yourself in a situation, and we've helped and saved a lot of businesses who've been at the brink of going broke.
So that's 30,000 in the hole. Rejigging that, getting $3,000 saving, but then over 12 months, reduce that $27,000 to a $30,000 surplus.
Correct.
Good. That's awesome.
60,000 per month difference, which is pretty significant. But it was about identifying the fact, and the catalyst for the conversation was the debt. It was the debt was the killer, and it was resulting in the pressure. And then we worked out the strategy was unsustainable. We restructured and we improved.
Now, when people actually are in those holes, mate, and I've seen a lot of business over my 30 years in business. Sometimes they just get into overwhelm, just put the hands up and say, "Oh, I've just got to pack up and go." Yeah. When you and your team look at it, are there some things that just pop out that are easy to see that most people can't see, that a lot of the time it can be fixed?
We refer to these as cash flow bottlenecks. To most people, they're invisible and unseen, but to us, they're blatantly obvious. Think about it this way. Your business is like the human body, and cash flow is the blood that's coursing through its veins. And these cash flow bottlenecks are small blockages that are filling the arteries. And what happens when those arteries become clogged and the blood flow stops? You die. And it's exactly the same as your business. Now, debt, when used the wrong way, is exacerbating and advancing those blocked arteries. It's like going to the doctor and your doctor says, "Steve, you really need to lay off the croissants and you need to stop eating butter." And then as soon as you walk out of that door, you go grab a stick of butter that's got all of the added salt in the world, and you just start smashing that. What do you think that's going to do for you?
It's going to exacerbate the blockage, isn't it?
It's only going to exacerbate the blockage. So on the flip side, that if we say, hey, we can go and implement, we take some medication, we implement a strategy, we get ourselves back fighting fit, and that we have a really clear North Star. And this particular client that we were talking about, the North Star for him was being able to obtain good debt to achieve two key outcomes: to renovate and be able to buy his dream home, and to be able to buy a commercial premises that he could rent from himself. So he had a place that his business could call home.
So to get all that done, mate, and I know it's something that has been harped on for many times and many years, is the plan is one thing. And we all know that implementation is the key. Is the magic word accountability here, where Steve leaves the doctor and he's got to make sure that he doesn't go have his croissant. There's got to be somebody, "What did you eat today?" in a couple of days. And he said, "Oh, I ate the croissant." It's a naughty boy. Does it get to that? Because I find that most people have the desire, but their discipline and so forth is sometimes lacking, especially when it's something new and something foreign.
Correct. There's a really basic principle here, and it goes for everything in business. And for your own personal wealth, that what gets tracked gets measured, and what gets measured gets improved. So if you went to the doctor in this example and your doctor said, "Steve, your cholesterol's too high," but there wasn't any course of remedy, they didn't tell you what your cholesterol level was and what it needs to be within normal ranges, then you're going to go, "Okay, thanks for that information. What am I going to go do?" The likelihood of you succeeding in that scenario is going to be substantially less. But if we say, "Hey, okay, your cholesterol's 10, it needs to be under 5, and we've got to get there in the next 3 months, and these are the remedial actions required." Okay, great. Wow. Okay, I now know what I need to do, and I can measure it. Exact same thing happens in your business. So if we do have bad debt, we have things that are magnifying specific outcomes in our life and our business, in some cases for the worse, then we need to work out what are the remedial actions required. Can we restructure and be able to get some additional breathing space? Beautiful. And then what do we do to get ourselves from a bad situation into a good situation by having something really clear and tangible to work towards?
So that can be a beautiful segue here. I mean, I'm hearing it's not just earning more money. It's not actually working longer hours to have no lifestyle. So as the title says, we want 3 keys to actually help reduce debt. So what's number 1?
Yep. Well, there's 3 strategies to repay a debt. And many people go, well, to repay a debt, you just pay it off, right? There's actually 3 ways that we can go about it, Steve. So the first way is what we call the debt snowball. And the debt snowball is essentially we focus on paying off your smallest debt first, irrespective of its interest rate. And this is focusing on behavior, because when we've got a big debt and we're chipping away at it little by little, it can sometimes be a little bit disheartening because we can't really see the fruits of our labor. But let's say we've got 5 debts ranging from one that's $1,000 and up to 500,000, let's say, on your home. If we focus on paying off the big debt first, we might not be able to stick the course from a behavioral standpoint. So your choice may be to focus on the debt snowball of paying off the smallest first, so you get that kind of that positive reinforcement of, yes, I've paid that debt off. Fantastic.
Having small wins actually does perpetuate motion, doesn't it?
Exactly. The second strategy is the debt avalanche, where we focus on the highest interest debt first. This is the logical choice, and it is the one that makes the most financial sense. Because we've got, let's say, a credit card that's a 20% interest rate down to a home loan that's 3%. If we pay off that 20%, that's obviously costing us the most per dollar in terms of interest. So we do the logical approach, focus on highest interest, and then work our way down the list.
So it's not the size of the debt, it's actually how much it's costing you.
Exactly.
That's a bit of gold. So it's like we'd have a small debt, get rid of the debt, but it might be just be at 3-4% or whatever. But we have an in-between debt that could be 25% in some cases, to say, hey, let's hit that one because the interest we're paying that is going to exasperate the principal.
Exactly right. And the third strategy is what we call the debt destroyer traffic light. Now, this is a little bit more complicated, guys. And what this considers is that every debt has a different cash flow requirement of you. And there is an opportunity cost based on the amount of cash flow that a particular debt is consuming. So what you need to do for this strategy is you need to get all of your debts and work out what are the amounts outstanding, work out all of the minimum repayments for those debts, and you need to divide the loan by the minimum repayment. And this will give you a number. So let's work on a little bit of an example here. Let's assume that we have a $20,000 car loan, and that is costing us $500 a month. That would give us a number of 40, okay? And let's say, for argument's sake, we have a $500,000 mortgage that is costing us $2,000 a month. That would give us a number of 250. Now, the lower that number, the less efficient that debt is for your cash flow, because it means that the amount of cash flow that's consuming proportionate to the size of the debt is huge. So when you pay off that debt, you get that cash flow back. And you can use that however you please. So what we look at is we look at this in 3 ranges. The red range is anytime we've got a cash flow index or a cash flow traffic light of less than 50. So the first example I gave you of the car loan was less than 50. So that would be in the danger zone. Then we've got...
Say less than 50, 50 what?
Just that was what the number. So whatever the loan is divided by the minimum monthly repayment, if that number comes out less than 50 when you do that calculation, that is the danger zone.
Got it.
Then we've got between 50 and 100. That is kind of our medium zone. And then we've got our 100 plus, which is what we'd refer to as our green zone or the freedom zone. So for example, the mortgage at 250, that's a freedom zone because for the debt compared to the repayment that we make every month, it's quite small as proportionate. So this is a different way of looking at things of how you win back cash flow.
Is there a preferred way? Is number 1, number 2, or number 3? What is more efficient for someone to, let's say, consider? But also, and guys, I'm just going to say this off topic. I don't suggest you do this on your own. I think you need to get some advice on what needs to be done. We're giving some ideas here. This is not advice, but this is actually, you need to have a conversation with Jackson and his team just to discuss your debt, because as you can see, if we release your debt and have better cash flow, you can create wealth. So it's just about a bit of a dovetail there, but come back to the 3 ways. Which way would you say from seeing most people works best?
It depends on the individual, Steve. Right. And we provide all of our clients with a calculator that allows them to look at the opportunity cost of all of these strategies. work out based on all of the debts that they've got, when would they actually be able to be debt free based on their surplus? And if they want to achieve that outcome faster, then what would they need to improve in terms of their cash flow to achieve the goal?
Does the debt, let's say we've got debt, credit cards, loans, and so forth, and when we have an income, you own your business, but you still get paid an income. Can you still have surplus to create wealth as well as keep paying off your debt?
Of course, definitely. Because I think what's important is that paying off debt's not very sexy, right? Like we don't go to the barbecue on the weekend and when we're sitting around with our family and say, guess what? I'm paying off my debt using the debt snowball. It's not a sexy subject. No one talks about that. No. However,
we bring it up today.
Exactly. So we need to make sure we've got balance. For some of my clients who have a lot of debt, and we're working on that debt strategy to be able to destroy their debt as quickly as possible, we do also allocate, even if it's just a small amount, to an investment portfolio, even if it's a couple $100 a month. Because the reality is that investment is not going to make a big difference, but it shows them that they're making forward momentum, that they're actually putting money into something that's working for them.
So little steps along the way creates a mindset that we can maybe become a bit more frugals, maybe reduce some expenditure that we, take for granted, and then consolidate the debt, get some help with which way to do it, depending on the person. And then because your mindset is there, well, I'm going to put 200, maybe be 300 because you release the artery, as you said, and there's 100%. A little bit more blood flow or cash flow, as we call it. And then we can start building wealth. So you can actually do both together.
Exactly. 100%. And once again, most of this is about behavior and creating new habits. There is a logical way to do things with money, but as human beings, we aren't always logical. We don't always do things that make sense. So it is important to consider the behavioral aspects of how do we create the right habits that you will carry forwards into the future that are conducive to helping you achieve financial freedom. How do we get you to a point where your debt is fully paid off and that you can create enough passive income where you've got the freedom to choose what you want to do with your time?
So habits and discipline go hand in hand, don't they? But
100%.
Look, you and I have been in business for a long time. We've been around a while. We can't do it alone. No. I mean, discipline actually is something that is quite difficult to do. People talk about it easily, but it's not easy. And our bad habits get in the way. So I'm a big believer that we need help, we need coaches, or we need someone to keep accountable to. So given that a lot of people listening would probably say, oh, gee whiz, I've got this type of debt. What can they do next? How can they get some help?
There's a few things they need to do. The first thing you need to be doing is you need to be reviewing your current debt strategy at least every 12 months. Because the reality is that your bank, your financial institution, will almost never pass on the current and most competitive rate to you. And we've got a couple of options. We either identify that it's not competitive and you've got the ability to go back with some ammunition of other competitors in the marketplace that have cheaper rates and then just negotiate. If you don't have to go through the rigmarole of refinancing and moving your debts around. Or if they're not going to come to the table, then there are plenty of other providers who are competing for your business right now. So don't be lazy. There is potentially thousands, and we've seen in some cases tens of thousands of dollars a year in savings by just negotiating a couple of percentage points here and there.
For an individual to negotiate those sorts of things with a bank, I know you and I might be able to do those sorts of things, but I've always found, even if I went to do it, I get a so much better result when I get an expert like a broker that really is able to maneuver let's say his clients accordingly because they know, like, and trust them. Would you recommend that?
Definitely. So we've got lending specialists in-house that we can put you in touch with that can help you do all of that negotiation, do all of the heavy lifting for you, and then also shop around the market to find you the best deal.
Oh, that's terrific, because sometimes that can be pretty scary going to talk to the bank about stuff you don't know about. So I've always believed that these brokers that have been around a while, they know how to ask good questions. I remember many years ago, we had a broker with a business we were helping with, and he was brokering through lots of multiple organizations. It got to the stage where we had one person said, I'm going to give this interest rate for a business loan for a client. at the 11th hour, he rings up and says, no, we're not going with them. I've actually squeezed these people better. They're going to give you your client a month for free plus a point X low. So he went to task for that because he wanted to create great value, but he also was genuinely interested in helping the person. And that's the sort of broker I'm talking about.
That's what you want. You need someone who's on your side, who understands your business, because not every bank is a fit for your business. And for that reason, you need to understand the nuances, the small niches for each lender, which as a layperson, you just can't know. And you need that expert who's going to know where to place the business, how to negotiate the best deal, and what levers to pull to get you the outcome that you want.
Well, you've got an enormous team there that have been tried and proved. They're in an inner circle. They can't come into your team unless they are experts. So in summary, we've got good and bad debt, haven't we? So we've got the good stuff and the bad debt, but we've got to be able to have a review on this every 12 months.
Correct.
And then once we review it, we can say, well, how we can consolidate it, improve the cash flow so we can create wealth. So we can do both. And there's 3 different ways depending on the individual. Exactly. And if we've got some big debts that we need to consolidate and get a better, let's say, rate from the bank, one of your team members or a broker could actually do that. So exactly. What can the guys in the SAC and our clients do now, mate? So how can they contact you? What can they do to sort of have a little bit of look at their debt, consolidate it, and maybe turn it around into some wealth creation model?
Yeah, 100%. So if you want to go through the exercise of your debt destroyer, of working out what you got to do to destroy your debt and fast track your way to financial freedom, just feel free to reach out, shoot me a message on Messenger. Let's have a conversation. Let's work out where you're at right now, where you're trying to go. It might be that you want to consolidate, save your cash flow. It might be that you want to buy a commercial premises, your next investment property, your first home, your dream home. It might be that you just want to work out how you can save your cash flow and be able to grow and scale your business more profitably moving forwards. All of those things that we can help you with. And this is about removing those cash flow bottlenecks, maximizing your business profit, and then turning your business profit into personal wealth. This is what we do all day, every day.
It all starts with a conversation, doesn't it? It's getting the courage to pick up the phone or send out a message. So I just think sometimes it's just hearing something like this just tweaks a little bit of interest, and all of a sudden, let's just do this. So it's just a matter of just reaching out. Is that right?
100%. Reach out. Let's have a chat, and let's map out a bit of a debt strategy for you and help you get where you want to go.
Well, I'll put your email address in there as well, and also we can go to your Facebook page, and we can get some people to maybe reach out there. Is that okay?
100%. And look, we're always publishing content, guys. We've always got great tips. So feel free to add me on Facebook and follow the feed. And when you're ready, reach out and have a chat.
Terrific. Well, mate, that's terrific. Well, you've made debt sound a little bit easier to understand, but also what I really loved about it is there's ways to fix it. But it's don't do it alone. So thanks so much, mate. Absolute gold as usual.
Happy to help, mate.
Hey, guys, what did you learn about your debt? Did you have your pen handy? Did you write out some of the things that Jackson suggested? My recommendation is to have a bit of a listen to this again and see where you've got a bit of a blockage or what you're looking for in the next 2 to 3 to 5 years and where you want to be. If you have a business or whether you're working with somebody, you can have good debt and bad debt. But why don't you have a conversation? Doesn't hurt. I'll put the email addresses in there. Reach out to Jackson. He very generously said he'll have a bit of a yarn with you and give you some ideas. Strongly recommend that you join the Facebook group, but also take some massive action. Thinking about it just doesn't work. So type down something in the comments. Tell us what you want to do. Maybe you want some help. As I said, I'll put the email address there. Reach out to Jackson and send Kick some goals. So action is everything. So put some things into place, and we'd love to hear about your success. So I'm Dr. J, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.